Plenty of fans here tonight to see Ross Driscoll make his first appearance of the new year. All his fights so far have been here at the famous York Hall. This is his third and his first appearance of the new boxing year. And I think Andy's going to be keen to get his sort of boxing career up and going.
You think so? He just got hit by a right hand there, but nice quick start from him. Nice quick start from the pair of them, and this is what you need to do, because Lubanja is going to come with some ambition here. He's going to give this a crack, and Driscoll's got to make sure he's nice and sharp right from the beginning here. Although he gets caught high on the head a couple of times in a row there early on.
That's 4 right hands Lubanja's landed in this first round. I said before, and he can box, this guy. He can fight. He knows exactly what he's doing. So Driscoll's going to have to be sharp. He's going to have to get the tactics right. There's had plenty of good sparring throughout his career, both amateur and pro. Certainly as an amateur, he sparred Freddie Pullen quite a lot. And Freddie has just won a big title, hasn't he, in the last few months. So plenty of good experience away from the lights for Driscoll. Well, this is where it matters now. There's a lovely right hand. I think the left was low on the other side of the referee, but the right was a cracker.
Made a good solid noise, didn't it, when it landed? Really set his feet for it.
He was banging his fist together before the first bell. And there's a lovely right hand. Oh, he hurt him with that. He's gone down. It looked like a right to the body, but the legs went. And then he looked for the floor just to buy himself a little bit of protection and time. So clearly there's a bit of power there. The body shots working early doors for Driscoll. Now can he force it home with a minute to go?
It was definitely a body shot. Again, he set his feet for it, threw that front foot quite wide, and then really hurled it in there. Quite an unusual reaction, because the reaction his legs gave was the one you normally get when someone's been hit to the head. But again, he's just going down there, right hand into the body, followed by left. Lubanja's looking to fire back.
Both landing hooks in that wild exchange. Further reminders to Driscoll that he can't be too gung-ho, even when he's got his man hurt.
What he can tend to do, Driscoll, when he's looking to fire off to the head, is his chin can tend to come up a bit, whereas when he goes down to the body, he dips his knees, his chin's down, and he's just in a much better position.
I'll tell you what though, Andy, I mean, big breakthrough obviously, but he throws that right to the body beautifully. For an orthodox fighter, that's actually one of the hardest shots to land, and he has timed it absolutely beautifully.
He really has. And that was the one that did the damage, wasn't it? I'm sure we'll get a look at it.
That's a wicked shot. And there's, I think this might be after the knockdown when they were going at it. And here's the body shot. I think that might have been slightly after as well, but he got a reaction, and it was an unusual reaction with that right hand, perfectly timed. So it was kind of to the chest and chin in the end, wasn't it? He threw it low like a body shot, but because Lubanja had just squatted or ducked down, he kind of caught him on the chin, I think, more than the chest. It's an unusual shot.
It was. That does explain the reaction that it got, but as you say, where he was looking to throw that was down to the body, a little feint with the front foot there. And I think that finish to the round will give him some good confidence, Driscoll. He's got a plan to build on now. That right hand just keeps landing, so keep throwing it.
He's been clipped with the left hook when he throws those sort of 2 3s or 4s, but it's the right to the body that's the punch for, and that's landing every time, and it looks and sounds meaty.
Lubanja will always feel like he's in with a chance here, because when he gets into range, as you just mentioned, Driscoll, and looks to let those hands go and throw a combination, there are gaps there. He took that latest left to the chin well, but Lubanja will be looking at him and just thinking, if I can just bring you onto me, then there's opportunities here.
Which he did. He made him miss, and then as he came forward, Driscoll, he just punished him with a combination. So that's good stuff, that, from Lubanja, who is comfortable boxing off the back foot. It was a body shot that Tom Welland took him out with, a left hook to the body when Welland stopped him back in March. That was the last time he fought, actually. He's been out for a couple of months since then. So different side, but Driscoll trying to remind him about that. That's better from Driscoll. A couple of feints, change of body angle.
Just waited a bit too long there, didn't he? He was manoeuvring him back towards the ropes.
But the right idea. You can see what he's trying to do, Andy, can't you? And trying to be a little less aggressive, a little more thoughtful. We'll see how that pans out.
When he lets them go, Driscoll, he really lets them go, doesn't he? He shapes quite a lot, as he is here, but then when he punches, he's generally, so far at least, been pretty expansive.
Lubanja's been able to ride the storm, though, hasn't he, this round? Bought himself a bit of time.
Short with the left hook, and he came back there, Lubanja, but he did okay there, Driscoll. He pulled his weight back, didn't he?
Yeah, he got the distance right there, Driscoll. The last time they were in that corner, he got picked off and he overcommitted, but there, he'd obviously learned from that, and he managed to get himself to exactly the right kind of defensive range. So he's been forced to think. He's been forced to work. I said beforehand, this is a good match, and all of the red corners have come in with a bit tonight, which is, I think, what you want to see.
That was interesting there, because that's kind of what I was talking about, what he did during that replay. Nice shape, moving that head, creeping in with the front foot, and then waited a bit too long, and Lubanja just ended up throwing something. It'd be good to see him, just whilst he's doing that, just jab, just throw the jab, just put it out there. Why not? You've got to send it out nice and quick, bring it back nice and quick, but you can maybe see a bit more of that from him, I think.
You can see Lubanja's quite good on his feet. He's quite comfortable in this kind of role too. Lovely little jab, right hand spin off the target.
Now, he's technically a good fighter, isn't he? You see the way he just turns around that front foot there. He absolutely knows what he's doing.
He boxes with a bit more craft and guile than a guy who's having his 10th fight, Andy, doesn't he?
He does. He definitely does.
So it's a good enough or a tough enough match for Driscoll this stage of his career, I think it's fair to say. And now he's got to find a way of closing the distance or reducing the ring or pinning down Lubanja. That's the next job in this round.
Threw a good left hand to the body about 10-15 seconds ago. And he's looking for that long right hand, but Lubanja in that kind of situation, when he's got Driscoll in front of him, and as I say, he's kind of shaping, he's not going to get hit with that longest right hand, because he's able to just pull his feet back out. As we say, he's got decent fundamentals. He's got to dress it up a bit more.
And to be fair, the guys who have kind of made an impression of Lubanja, the guys like Tom Welland and Jimmy Lee, they're guys who've had sort of 10, 11 fights. So a lot more experience than Driscoll has had so far.
That was good from Driscoll, got his feet close, nice and quick, no messing around, rattled off the combination to the body, tucked up, ended up in the clinch.
Good defensive work that from Driscoll again. He tried to close the gap there with a double jab, which then allowed the feet to come in after them. So he's thinking about this. His right hand came in from Lubanja there, but Driscoll manages to tie him up and close the range. So they're both thinking in there.
It's a good fight to watch. He likes that single right-hand lead every now and again, doesn't he, Lubanja, and then steps off to his right-hand side. He's landed it a couple of times. There's not really any kind of weight on it. Fighters always tell you, don't they, that getting hit with a right-hand lead like that's a bit like getting nutmegged. It doesn't hurt, but it's just a bit embarrassing that somebody's managed to land it on you. That was good from Driscoll, just dipped his knees, got underneath the right hand, came up with a left hook and didn't quite manage to land it clean, but they're well matched, aren't they? They're well matched, these two. Driscoll's winning the fight, you would probably say, but they're well matched.
And this is all part of Driscoll's education. He could have been in with a guy who's lost 78 fights, he's never going to be in any sniff of winning, and maybe he's got more chance of knocking out. But I think fans are growing a little weary of that traditional art of matchmaking, and I think matchmakers themselves, promoters, managers, maybe even the fighters, certainly fans are more interested in an evolving climate, and I think we've seen that today, where the culture of matchmaking has to change.
Corners, 10 seconds,
and maybe a little more adventurous, shall we say. It's difficult, isn't it? Do you want to build a fighter up? You want to get him the right kind of experience. It's not an easy path to tread when there's money and careers at stake, food to be put on the table for sure. But that balancing act is fascinating.
It really is, and a key factor in it is that the boxer, and quite often it's more the case the team around them need to want to take proper fights, because they don't always. You talk to matchmakers and they'll say, well, I put 15 opponents to them, and they said no to every single one of them, and ended up asking me, and this is a quote from a matchmaker I know, I won't say who about, in the end they asked me for a journeyman who held his feet and was easy to hit, and he had to explain to them that those fighters don't exist. But that's what you're up against sometimes.
Well, Lubanja hasn't been easy to hit, hasn't held his feet. And certainly the last couple of rounds has been a constantly moving target for Driscoll. What we have seen from Driscoll, though, I think in the last couple of rounds, he's been way more defensively switched on, and we've seen that side of his game.
Just trying to come up with the right hand there. I'd still just like to see him use that jab on the way in. You mentioned it towards the end of the previous round. He doubled the jab. He didn't land either one of them, but he moved in behind it, and it just took him into a good position as it is. As I've said, there's the shaping, but then he'll throw something from quite a long way out, and Lubanja's good enough to not get hit with that. Decent 1-2 there from him. With regard to the matching, you just want there to be a level of jeopardy, don't you, if you're guiding a fighter through? There's got to be something that puts the fear in them. You don't want the level to be too high too early, but there needs to be some jeopardy, doesn't there? Because if there isn't any, then what are we really doing?
And the fighters to buy into it. And certainly that's been the kind of top tier way, hasn't it? You will see it later on in the bill. Fighters like Kevin Rival, James Osborne, guys who are willing to take a challenge, willing to take a risk. It doesn't always work out. It hasn't always worked out, but it hasn't harmed their careers. It's been a win for the fans. It's been a win for those watching on DAZN, and we're going to see a bit of that later on.
Yeah, those two in particular, I'd put them on any card. You wouldn't put them at the top of any card, but I would put them on any card, because you know what you're going to get. And it's not like they're just a couple of sluggers and brawlers. They're much better than that.
Crowd getting into that when Driscoll managed to close the gap. little welt, I think, on the left cheekbone, left eye for Driscoll. That's better. There's the jab. And I think that'll be one of the things he'll look at, is how you close the gap, how he could close the gap, how you pin a guy like Lubanja down, and I think those sort of double and triple jabs will be something that maybe they can work into the next fight. But he's a good operator, this Tanzanini. He's a really good operator, knows what he's doing. He's the kind of guy who could become a prolific journeyman.
Yeah, he absolutely could. There'll be plenty of work out there for him. Loads of shows these days as well. There's more boxing than I think ever before, maybe, in the UK. The Border Control might be able to disprove that, but it just seems like there's a show all of the time.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 5.
Into round 5 then, scheduled for 6, this one. And interesting that Driscoll comes out firing a couple of jabs to the body, manages to clip Lubanja as well. I think he was just off balance, but it shows you what you can do and the kind of environment that you create for yourself when you start with the jab. And he doubled it up to the body. That allowed the feet to get close, and that created the opportunity for other punches, which he managed to land. So that was a really good little moment, little vignette of what's possible for Driscoll.
Just gets slow, moves that head, and then comes up with a left hand there.
Smile from Lubanja as well. Whether he thought he knew what was coming or he managed to block that left hand to the body, but he was...
And again, he's looking for that right hand from relatively far back, and as mentioned, Lubanja sees that, just steps off to his left-hand side. He has manoeuvred Lubanja around quite effectively at times. Lubanja's never really looked uncomfortable, so there's an element of him being happy to give ground. He's not being pushed around, is he, necessarily, but that front foot's quite effective for Driscoll, but as we've been saying, it would be good just to see him use that lead left a bit more.
And certainly there's been less things to worry about the last few rounds for Driscoll. Still plenty to think about, plenty to work on. He's been made to think and work and move constantly by Lubanja.
But you're right, in the first couple of rounds, he'd step in, look to get stuck in, let those hands go, and he did look quite open, didn't he? Whereas he's been a lot tighter.
Yeah, his defences have got better as this one's gone on, Andy, haven't they? And most of that is because of the distance. He's not overcommitted necessarily. He's conscious of when he maybe just has to get himself slightly out of range, and that has been largely head movement. Plenty of encouragement for Driscoll tonight. A nice stabbing jab to finish things off. One more round to go. There's a good little snapshot of how difficult Lubanja's been to hit. He landed his own jab, and then he was back, managed to slip the shot from Driscoll, and then he was away. So I think in the circumstances, Driscoll's he's done well.
Yeah, I think he's done perfectly fine here.
Corners,
It's quite
10
interesting the
seconds.
way he likes to get low and move that head and then lead off with a
Seconds out.
left hook, and
6.
I
And
just feel
final
like
round.
Lubanja could see that coming. Some of that movement I think is a little bit wasted because it's out of range, whereas he could maybe just save a little bit of that for when he gets a touch closer.
We've not seen so much of the right hand to the body in the last 3 rounds. I think that's mainly because Lubanja's been more difficult to hit, a lot more difficult to pin down. He's been constantly on the move.
Since he's tightened things up, Driscoll, there's not been loads massively clean landed by either one of them, really, has there, to be honest, but he's the one who's just got these dictated terms, hasn't he? He's looked like he's in control of the fight. That's a decent combination there, though, from Lubanja.
He's trying again. There's a bit of variety with the jab. There he's jabbing to the sort of middle of the chest. There he goes again, double jab. That's exactly what I think is called for. Clearly that's something that's been coming from the corner. Ross Pearson, Rod Julian over there, that far side. Cheeky right hand out of that exchange from Lubanja.
But the referee just letting them work it out themselves, which I always like, because she's resisted the temptation just to get in and break when it's got a bit messy. They come together, they come apart. Just give them a bit of time to work it out.
Final minute to go then in the final round. Crowd trying to get back behind Ross Driscoll, trying to encourage him for one final effort.
As I was saying about a minute or so ago, when you look at it in terms of clean punches landed, there's not been loads in this though, has there, to be honest? It's more the kind of the body language and the dynamic of it. Driscoll, you would say, just has the look of a man who has won the last 4 rounds probably, and has therefore won the fight. The first 2, not much to choose, but it could be a bit closer than we think.
Just landed a nice 1-2 in that exchange previously. One of the first times he's managed to trap Lubanja in a corner. And after that, what looked like a big breakthrough in the first round, Lubanja, he managed to ride the storm in the second, and he's been on the back foot ever since. And there goes the final bell. Ross Driscoll, I hope he's not too frustrated. Lubanja's a decent little operator, and he knows how to buy himself some space, some time. He knows basically to ride the danger. And he managed to do that effectively, although it was Driscoll who was picking up the points en route.
Yeah, it was a good performance, I think, that overall. Against a very capable guy.
And certainly the addition of the jab in the last couple of rounds was something that developed as the fight went on. That's good to see.
After 6 rounds of boxing, we go to the referee scorecard. Referee Navy Food scores the bout 58 to 55. And your winner, still undefeated, Ross Driscoll!
And that's about right. Ross Driscoll it is who wins. He'll have learned plenty. And only his third fight, Andy. He's moving up to 6 rounders already, and he had no bother with the pace and the rhythm of that at all.
No, it was good. It was good. 58-55, 4-2 plus the knockdown, and that's a fair reflection because, as I was saying towards the end, there wasn't loads in some of the rounds, and that's a good card from the referee. And Lubanja, yeah, very capable guy, isn't he? Good fighter, and that's a worthwhile fight. We're talking about matchmaking and levels of jeopardy, and he was a bit gung-ho early on. He did get the knockdown, but he was a bit gung-ho, and he realised it, and he sharpened up because he knew that if he gave Lubanja too many chances, then he might pay the price.